Right then, this is cooking with Corpsie Breakfast edition, by the look of it. I have no bread in the house, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do bacon sandwich the kind of vaguely posh way. Fairly easy to do. What we need is flour, teeny bit of bicarb, yeast, teeny bit of sugar, and some bits. First of all, set up the yeast. It's 1 cup of sugar, a teaspoon and a half or so, something like that. A heaped pile of yeast. I won't be using absolutely all of this. Oh good, I have the water still in there. A little bit of hot water. A little bit of cold water. Just remember you're dealing with yeast, which is technically bacteria, so you want it about body temp. Anyway, that will do for that. And now you spice and prepare your bread. Because I'm doing this with bacon, I'm going to have a teeny bit of mustard powder, salt and pepper to taste as usual. My bacon is unsmoked, so what I'm going to use is this lovely, interesting smoked salt. Apparently it's a Heston Blumenthal thing. Haven't really used much of it since I got it for Christmas, so why not? Right, so that's that, and a wodge of flour. Now I'm going to put in a little bit of bicarb as well. You don't want much, because otherwise it ends up tasting a bit soapy, shall we say. But this is just to give the yeast a little bit of an extra help, as I'm actually not doing... as I'm actually not doing proper leavened bread. I'm not leaving it to rise for very long. I'm just going to give it a little extra hit of the baking soda. Right. The yeast needs to do its gubbins before I can add that in, so there we go. This is going to be a bit of a wait. During this wait I'm going to cook some bacon. But there we go, that's some flour in a bowl, pretty much. There we go, that will do for the moment. Right, yeah, this is bacon, you know how to cook bacon. I've got the radio on now, mainly because this is really just me going, oh look. By the way, this is collar bacon, unlike streaky or something, it's a lot more meat. And what bacon you use is a matter of preference. Blah 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 blah, that cooks. Yeah, there we go. Bacon is good. Okay, this is the slightly more complex bit, and okay, that'll do. slightly more complex, but really easy. What we have is yeast. It's just starting to fizz up a bit. Strictly speaking, should leave it for longer, but it's breakfast, the bacon's cooking, I'm bloody starving, so it won't be. You just add a little bit of this, nowhere near all of it, because what you want is if you add all of it, it becomes too yeasty in flavour. And what you want to do is just knock up a quick dough. And the other part is the cold water. Not using all of that, I'm just using some. And you add it little by little so you don't kind of produce this big doughy mess. If you produce a big doughy mess, then you're stuffed. And it's annoying and it's horrible and it's hard to manipulate and all of that. I see if I can just go. Probably can see that, probably can't, don't particularly care. Just add little by little. And bacon is good enough to turn off. More. And hopefully yep, that looks about right. It's a touch sticky, but there we go. It is a ball of dough, which will be clearer in a moment. And move over to the cutting board. Yes, I know this isn't as polished as my last ones, but I don't care. Right, cutting board. Liberally floured. I'll leave that in there for the moment because I will need it again. There we go, that's that. And out this comes. Now, my hands are now quite floury, which is good. I was going to say stops everything from sticking, but it doesn't quite. And that goes that way. Now this is quite the relaxing, therapeutic part. You just kind of give it a good couple of bashes and sort it out and shape it to how you want. You can feel it a little bit sticky, but that soon gives in and becomes, well, like dough, which, unsurprisingly, it is. Now, the question is, what do I want apart from bacon? I could do some cheese in it, which would go quite nicely with the mustard, but I think the grater is still in the dishwasher. Yes, it might still be dirty. Right now I'm just kind of shaping it and generally just doing what I want. Once I get it into the right shape, position and everything else, it's going to be half now because it's still a bit sticky. Especially just as I'm stretching it. This is done better with a rolling pin, but at the moment I can't be bothered with that. Let's just call it rustic, because yeah, rustic and handmade always sounds particularly good excuses for it being a bit crap. Right then. In goes the bacon. Lay it that way. And that way. There we go. Now, do I want to add anything? No, fuck it, I'm just having it as bacon. So, let's tuck everything in. Again, this is handmade and rustic, so you don't have to be neat and tidy. And you use a little water to seal it up. Don't forget to crimp, because of course, again, handmade and rustic means that you have these kind of things. As this is going to be devoured very quickly, I don't see the point in making it much nicer. There we go, we'll leave that for a little bit for all the bubbles in the yeast and the baking soda to come up and work and go woo and stuff. And I'll twiddle my thumbs for a bit, listening to music and possibly reading. Righty-ho, my favourite cooking implement, the griddle. It's two-sided. But I've already cooked the bacon on this, as you've seen, so I've got the bacon fat just liberally over here. Now, strictly speaking, bread should be baked, but this is of course unleavened and very quick and easy and dirty bread, really. So, we just go and stick it on like that. And we wait. I could go back to my book, which is currently Wind in the Willows. And I can sit here and read this and listen to music, or I can just gibber on at you for, it's going to be about 5 or 10 minutes or so, I reckon. You can't just do one side, flip it over so it's to the other side, and then do the edges. And it's all very, very yummy. I like the word yummy. I'm going to gibber, yes. Right, as you can hear, fizzing away nicely. Get a bit more of the fat on, a bit more of the bacon bits, because, well, that's what this is for. So I mean, this is kind of almost bacon in a fried bread roll. See, I've always been rubbish with pastry, but this works quite nicely. And let's see, if you go like this, you go, ooh, look at that, it's a lovely mottled brown colour, and it gets a slight crisp crust to it, and hopefully, assuming I've been patient enough with leaving it to rest and all of this, it should be okay. Kind of nice and fluffy once it's cooked, or at least kind of vaguely fluffy. It's still going to be fairly heavy as bread goes, because this is unleavened. It's quick, dirty. It's almost a naan bread. Although I'm sure I could have done something like a naan. If I had the cardamom pods in, which I don't at the moment. But yeah, this is a basic flour, water, yeasty, bready mix, and stick any old thing in it that you fancy. Should have done a little bit more walnut ketchup, which is very nice. It's quite mace based. I can't remember the rest of it. Mace, vinegar, obviously pickled walnuts, homemade, picked from a walnut tree just over the road whilst it was green. And that was all pickled and stuff. Could have added my homemade kind of vague Tabasco sauce. which is actually from homegrown chilies, left to ferment a little bit under salt, salt pickled, then topped up with vinegar, blend it down. Strictly speaking, should be strained and got rid of the lumps, but I like it as it is. Smells like I may have had a little bit too much yeast into that. God knows. Turn the heat down there. That's smoking hot. I think you've got the idea now. Let's just give this a quick look over, so you can see that side's all nice and mottled and brown as well. And now I'm going to balance it on its edge to toast those bits, and so on. And there we go. That's well, that's the final product. It's rustic, fat, slightly mustardy tasting, steaming hot, and I'm going to eat it. So yes, there we go. That'll do.